looking out the window.
You got windows? Why don't I have one?
Because I'm running this secret lair and you are my jester. You can bathe in my light, you don't need windows. Anyway, as I was saying, looking out the window, the weather is apocalyptic, so tell me of a game after the apocalypse.
And if I don't want to?
Then face the consequences. I see you have quite a trophy case and achievements treasury. Would be a shame if something would happen to them.
How? It's saved on servers, not locally, and you can't get to that data.
The World Champion achievement in Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter? Ring any bells?
Yeah, being in the #1 spot on the universal leaderboards. So, being the best player in the world, essentially. It was a real bitch to get.
And it's gone. Have fun obtaining it again. And now, no further delays. Get to the review.
You son of a... Fine. You know how apocalypses usually are. Drab, boring, mostly empty, and pretty khaki or grey. Also, various organizations spring up in order to establish a new order, which is mostly modeled after their last known attempt before everything went to shit. So everything will go to shit again, but that's not the point here. Or for them, obviously. Thankfully, Mutant Year Zero is refreshingly different. For starters, Sweden isn't exactly the first country coming to mind when thinking of post-apocalyptic places. I guess this is due to the fact that the game is based on the 2014 tabletop RPG of the same name, which originates from Sweden. And although throwing around nukes like candy on Halloween was one of the causes of this particular world's end, it's more of a nature reclaims the ruins type of apocalypse, which is very pleasing on the eyes, I must say. During the course of the game, you visit a lot of ordinary locations like the crash site of a small plane, a car ferry on a river shore, a booze distillery or a school. Everywhere, nature is hard at work overgrowing the decay and remnants of a former civilization the survivors call the Ancients. And the Unreal Engine 4 does its thing to make it look the part. The game is not open world, but a bunch of smaller maps with loading screen transitions. This makes it possible to cram a lot of details into each map. There are insects buzzing around, the ruins are detailed, car wrecks and corpses sometimes tell their own little stories. The characters are very detailed, as are the enemies. There is a boatload of plants, grass and other stuff in each map. And I like how the cone of the flashlight is interacting with the environment, casting nice shadows and so on. Additionally, flashy effects are used sparingly and therefore pack a visual punch. The same is also true for the weapon sounds. With the exception of silenced weapons, everything you'll fire sounds very meaty and great, as it should be.
Yeah.
Couple that with a short slow motion effect and a well-dosed blood splatter and your hits really convey the impact they are delivering on the skulls of your enemies.
Oh, I'm so good.
The ashes of the post-apocalypse are still glowing, but a great deal of knowledge is seemingly already lost, as our mutant protagonists don't know jack about the ancients and the strange stuff they left behind. All they know about the old world is what the elder of their settlement is telling them. This shows in various conversations when investigating the ruins or scavenging artifacts.
I heard of these boxes. They were used by a cult called the Demo Scene. Although what that means is a complete mystery to me.
Always puts a smile on my face. The banter between the characters is always great as they speculate what all this has been used for or what they have heard about the ancients and their daily lives.
Grog den up ahead. I hear the ancients had massive parties here. They got wasted on magic grog and headbutted each other. Oh, being ancient would be super cool.
When sneaking about, you can eavesdrop on them, sharing their thoughts, plans, and a bit of knowledge. And you will be sneaking around a lot.
The fallen machine did not contain the sacred numbers. But fear not, my children. The machine led a stalker to us. A smart stalker whose mind holds the secrets we need. The smart stalker will show us where the sacred numbers are kept.
Enough of pretty grass and wreckage. What about the gameplay? Give me some meat.
Okay, fine. No more picking flowers, you Philistine. Before you reach the Ark, which is your homestead and safe haven, the tutorial tells us all about sneaking, fighting and looting, which is nearly all we're doing in this game. It's simple. You're running around with your flashlight, which highlights items and uncovers the map. By turning it off, you enter sneak mode, which limits vision range and movement speed, but lets you either sneak past enemies or get in good position to ambush them. Which brings me to the fighting. While in hiding, you get a bonus to your critical chance, and you can weaken or thin the enemy horde by taking them out with silenced weapons. If you manage to kill an enemy in one turn, he won't alarm the others. Loud gunfire, grenades, or an alerted enemy makes others nearby spot you, which means more trouble. Especially in the mid and end game, positioning and stealth takedowns are essential, or you'll get overwhelmed quickly. No amount of medkits will save you. In a nutshell, you're fucked. The crux is, silenced weapons are very hard to come by and rather weak. There are only 4 in the whole game, and I don't mean 4 different kinds because there are only 3. Only 4 in total, so you are stuck with them throughout the whole game, and upgrading them to the max is a must. Often you're not able to reliably kill lone enemies in a single turn, not even with the help of skills, which will further increase the difficulty, which is already high enough at times to begin with. During combat itself, prioritizing targets is key. A shaman can call in reinforcements infinitely. A tank can stun you for several turns, leaving you open for attacks. Certain enemies can even mind control your mutants or fry them all at once with lightning, Sith Lord style. Or they are heavily armored, which means they are eating bullets like your mom eats cookies.
Leave her out of this or you'll pay for it.
Sorry, figure of speech. And then there are of course your mutations, which are your skills. Each character can have a major, a minor, and a passive mutation active at a time. You can freely change them between fights, so scouting ahead and plan accordingly will save your mutated asses repeatedly. No need for EMP skills like Circuit Breaker if the fight solely consists of human opponents. This brings a welcome element of additional strategy to the fights. In general, each of the 5 characters has 1 or 2 signature mutations unique to him and some more that can be found on multiple characters. Unfortunately, this also dictates their usefulness in battle to a great degree and effectively prevents you from using some characters, which can also be freely switched in and out between fights. Magnus's signature move, for instance, is the Puppeteer mutation, which lets you take over and control enemies for 2 turns. This is a lifesaver in nearly every fight, because robot-only fights are rather rare, and having another temporary man in the field you can recklessly abuse until it looks like Swiss cheese is invaluable. Chain Lightning, his second signature mutation, works equally well against robots and humanoids, as well as destroys cover. Combine this with a passive ability to sometimes pluck incoming bullets out of the air Matrix style, negating all damage, and you basically never want to swap him out. Most other characters pale in comparison when it comes to sheer versatility. The other 2 remaining mutants on the team are pretty much down to your playstyle, as each of them more or less fill a niche. In addition to Magnus, there's Dux, a duck with an attitude problem who likes to snipe things from afar, and also above thanks to his Mothwings mutation. Selma hampers enemy movement with her Treehugger mutation. Baconhead Bormin is a tank that charges at and stuns enemies with Hog Rush and can replenish health by eating corpses. Last but not least, there is Pharaoh, a foxy lady who specializes in critical chance and staying hidden. After you have defeated your enemies either from the shadows with guns blazing or most likely both, there's looting. Naturally, most enemies drop some loot for you to take, but on each map you can also find scrap, weapon parts, notes, artifacts and chests. Scrap is the currency you need for the shop back at the Ark, so you can stock up on medkits, different types of grenades, armor, weapons and attachments for them. Weapon parts are used for upgrading your weapons at the Ark's workbench. This is also where attachments are installed. Notes give you something to read about the world and the ancients. Artifacts can be exchanged for passive perks like more range on damage for all weapons or extended bleed out timers. Chests contain weapons, hats or armor for your characters. And that's the core gameplay loop. Just wrap it up in real-time exploration and turn-based XCOM style combat with 2 actions per turn and you're done. Actually, there's a bit more, XP and leveling up. Well, not really, it's more of an afterthought. Each kill nets you XP, which will raise your level. Each map does have a recommended level, and if you want to keep up, you need to nearly kill everything that comes your way. This effectively removes sneaking as a way of skipping too many fights, because ultimately you will be underleveled. Enemies do not respawn, so it's impossible to power level yourself. This also means your number of skill points from level ups is limited, and you can't earn enough to get all the skills and upgrades in your skill tree, so you have to choose carefully. But don't worry, you are able to get nearly all of them, which is a shame because I like games where you have to think about which skills to buy, even more so because there's no way to respec. Unfortunately, the level pacing isn't that good because even smaller fights will sometimes get you 2 level ups at once. There are 26 maps in total and some are completely devoid of enemies. I completed the game at level 75, which means you gain almost 3 levels per map on average. The game tries to counter this by making some skills ridiculously expensive to buy. Some cost as much as 16 points. This means you're waiting quite a bit for them to unlock. Not a fan of this design decision. Fewer level ups with skills costing less on average is the better option in my book. Also, the availability of items in the Ark is tied to your level. After reaching certain milestones, there are new items available to buy and old ones restock. The whole XP system is not bad, just a bit undercooked in my opinion. And last but not least, the story. Dux, Selma, Bormin and the others are stalkers, tough mutants that wander out in the zone to collect scrap and other useful stuff to keep the Ark running. The Ark is a safe haven for mostly humans, some mutants and the Eldar, the leader of the Ark. After our first visit, we get tasked with finding Hammond, the gearhead who keeps everything running. Together with his team, he ventured into the zone to look for Eden, a place where there is no destruction and everything is fine. It's a fairy tale and nobody believes in its existence. Most story developments are told in a comic book style manner, with Bormin narrating it, and his voice is a perfect fit. The voice acting in the game is great all around.
So either Hammond is onto something or his brain's got the rot, and he's about to kill a bunch of good stalkers. Guess we gotta find out. Me and Dux have to go north, farther from home than we've ever been. It's dangerous. Dux thinks I'm crazy to press on. I don't disagree with him.
It's spoiler territory from now on, so if you want to experience it for yourself, go to the timecode on the screen.
No, I want to hear it all. I like stories.
Don't worry, I'm just waiting a couple of seconds so everyone is gone.
What? There are no others here.
Yeah, sure. After reaching Hammond's cabin in the zone, it's chasing down some clues until we find the other mutants of his team, Selma and Magnus. They tell us that Hammond is searching the wrecks of crashed robot things for Eden and attracted the attention of the Nova sect, an insane death cult obsessed with opening the gates to Eden. Well, more like opening the gates with the help of a nuclear missile, which could affect the Ark in slightly negative ways. And since Hammond can repair and fix everything, even the tech of the Ancients, the sect brought him to their hideout, the Spear of Heaven. On the way to the Spear, we encounter the broken machines of the mysterious Mimir countless times. Their logo is a star that's strangely familiar to the mutants. We also encounter the only side quest in the game. In the Castle of Light we meet Lux, who wants to get hold of his stolen key. After obtaining it, we can either give it to him and be on our way, or check out what the key actually opens and discover his dark secret. Of course, he isn't thrilled about it and wants to smash our heads in.
What have you done? What have you done? The lights must have power. You will become my new slaves. Give your minds to me.
He's tough, but after ransacking his place, we're dealing with the Spear of Heaven and find the entrance to an old defense bunker of the Mimir with a nuclear warhead inside, suitably called the World Ender. Fallout says hi. Here we also find audio logs of a scientist experimenting with mutating animals and sheds some light on the origin of the mutants. And bit by bit the memories of our team comes back and they remember more about the Mimir. But first we have to beat the Nova sect to the gates of Eden, and this is only possible by going through the Forbidden City, a shopping district full of Mimir robots. The atmosphere here is so good and dreadful with all the strange machines around. Finally, we arrive at the sealed gate to Eden. The Nova sect's high priestess Plutonia is summoning the World Ender and is also a mutation experiment of said scientist in the Mimir bunker. After dealing with her and her goons, we can finally enter Eden and find out the truth. Turns out Eden is the home of the mutants and the Elder of the Ark is the scientist conducting the experiments. His research program got shut down shortly before the apocalypse and he fled the facility with all the mutants he could gather. Plutonia separated herself, forming the Nova sect, while the others founded the Ark and made it a safe haven in the dangerous zone. The world around our protagonists is shattered as the lies of the Elder crumble. They do not know what to do next. And then the voice of the Ancients are heard on the radio, setting up a potential sequel. Because that's how every game has to end nowadays, right?
Why are you stopping? Go on or you'll regret it.
Don't panic, I'm just waiting for the others to join us again after the spoilers.
I already told you we are alone here. There are no others.
Don't be ridiculous. All in all, Mutant Year Zero is more than capable of scratching your itch for post-apocalyptic turn-based tactics while telling a solid story with a more or less surprising twist at the end. That depends on how thoroughly you search for and read through the notes in-game. And truth be told, by looking at the previous games of Dev Team Bearded Ladies, I would never have thought they would make such a good, fun and nearly bug-free game. It's completely different from anything else they did, both in scope and genre. But I'm glad they did. I needed around 13 hours to beat it on the easiest difficulty. Yeah, sue me. On higher difficulties you can expect a couple hours more because you'll reload a lot. So if you like unconventional protagonists, turn-based tactics and pretty non-brown wastelands, then Mutant Year Zero is a very refreshing take on the traditional XCOM tactical formula.
Thank you for letting this old man ramble. Go in peace, stalkers.
Mutated ducks firing electric sniper rifles, wild boars yielding grenade launchers while dismantling a robot army and a death cult. Delightful.
I aim to please and now restore my achievement.
I'm afraid I can't. In some cases, the internet truly forgets. But let it be a lesson to you for your next review.